Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, or in the prime time night, whenever you are listening to this voice tape. Thank you, first of all, for taking the interest in listening to this voice tape. When you are trying to take some time for listening a voice material, it means you have taken a development step for seeing yourself improved in some of the areas. And I'm so much thankful to you if you have got interested in this particular product, in which I will be holding your interest for the next couple of minutes, talking about a very important concept called as how to speak in front of people. Because wherever you go, speaking in front of people and making a public speaking appearance is a very, very challenging task. Students, business class people, office goers, professionals, and plenty of other people have got this problem of not being able to give their best when they are supposed to give a speech onto the stage. When it comes to the students, which is the most primary focused area, public speaking has become all the more difficult. So what I thought of sharing you some psychological techniques or therapies or tools which you can use for making yourself a better speaker or a better performer in the long run. And mind you, my dear friends, if you are listening to this voice tape, and after this voice tape, if you are able to take some time for retrieving what are all the concepts that you have learned, and if you are really taking some serious steps in applying these techniques in your everyday life, then, only then, you can see the improvement in your public speaking ability. I have prepared voice tapes on how to develop confidence, how to break your self-limitations, and all that. But this public speaking happens to be a very prime area which people are asking me to concentrate. So here we go, we'll start, and I would really like to take some of your time in terms of giving you some examples of people who have done a good job in public speaking. So shall we go to step number 1? Now, there will be a music now after the introduction of step number 1, that is, and when I'm about to express step number 1 to you, there will be a couple of seconds of music. And during that music, you will see the text material on your screen, talking about some of the frequently asked questions in public speaking. So I want you to first witness those frequently asked questions and then come back to me. Just spend a couple of seconds in reading those frequently asked questions and come back to me. I'll give you the solutions for all the questions that you are saying. So we are going to start now, and I would really guarantee you that you will enjoy the journey along with me for the next couple of minutes in learning this particular material. And now I want you to see the frequently asked questions. So what do you normally do when you are supposed to make a stage presentation? Well, you focus upon your past experiences, you think about how bad you are, you think about or you focus very radically upon what are all the negative factors that you have, which are really selling you short, and which are not really making you feel good about yourself. So, I don't know why youngsters always make a heavy negative impact on the feel-good factor whenever they are supposed to make a speech in front of the audience. It so happens in many corporations as well. I mean, in the company training, an induction training program has been given. People who are there listening to the induction program is those people who have just got graduated from the colleges. And you will not see any sort of frantic differences in their behavior. The behavior modification would not have happened anyways. And that is why I am there, first of all. A trainer is there for making this behavior modification happen, on a flash of a time. So there you see, when the induction is happening, you give some sort of subject material to the people to speak on the dais, and people immediately focus upon their negative qualities. And the deficiency motivation starts working. Sufficiency motivation and deficiency motivation. These are the two primary factors, or we can even get into a paradox when we speak about these two factors. Sufficiency motivation speaks that I have those qualities. When the trainer asked me to make a public speaking, I think I have got those qualities. I think I have got plenty of things in store with me for taking this challenge. This is called a sufficiency motivation, whereas deficiency motivation is people try to find out the reasons why they are not able to do that. Okay, so people really try to play an integral role within their self-concept and trying to search why they are not able to make that speaking appearance, why they are not able to win in that particular challenge, why they don't have any sort of prerequisite qualities which will definitely make them successful. So people are automatically programmed into this deficiency motivation when they are supposed to make a speech. Take a piece of paper, jot down all the notes that you are supposed to have about the subject material which have to be discussed in that speech. And you need to visualize in your mind that you are doing a wonderful speech. And you need to also visualize that people are listening to you. And before going to the stage, you need to do a couple of diaphragmatic breathing so that you feel physiologically wonderful. And you go to the stage and you start speaking. This is what is the cycle of messages and suggestions I used to give in public speaking training sessions. But people hardly demonstrate those things. They listen to it, they note down, they internalize, but when the original situation comes where they are supposed to execute what they have learned, they fail miserably. That is the execution gap we are seeing here. So what I suggest is, we need to take some steps for make a paradigm shift into the mind of the people, more on a psychological basis. When people's view about public speaking is changed, then people will normally take a wonderful regard of their own personal commitment towards public speaking. Taking a piece of paper, noting down all the points, visualizing that the people will listen to you and they will applaud you, and taking few deep breaths and then going to the stage. These kinds of messages are available in plenty of internet pages, and these kinds of materials are available in Dale Carnegie book, in which Dale Carnegie speaks about effective public speaking. I did not prepare this voice tape to speak about those repeated stuffs, because those experts over there are explaining about this for the past, half a century, but hardly any person listens to it. So I thought I could give you some messages in terms of, changing your core beliefs about what is public speaking. Core beliefs have to change, my dear friends. When a person is scared of snakes, the person's core belief about the reptiles and snakes should change. When a person is, getting a kind of a fainting sensation just by looking into the ocean, the person's core belief about ocean, water, sea, the deep blue sea, everything has to change. When a person looks into the red color and the person relates the red color along with the blood, and the person faints, the person's core belief about the color red and the core belief about blood itself has to change. So it's all about changing the core beliefs. Belief system is the biggest global arena a person has to look into when the person wants to take some changes in himself or herself relating to a particular task. Right, so you learn swimming, you learn a new software, you learn a new manufacturing system, you learn a new productivity system in organizations, and you learn a new inventory protocol in information system. All that is really because of changing the core belief. You believe that by learning that thing you will get a little bit extra knowledge and you will get a little bit of a command in what you are supposed to work. So you start learning something when you affirm within your mind that your core belief about that should be changing. And also towards the future. I learn the skill, I will improve in the future. I get mastered into the skill, I'll improve myself in the future. So this kind of core belief change happens, and only then you start learning. But I don't know why, only in this public speaking and speaking in front of people kind of a skill, people hardly have the readiness for changing the core beliefs. So I thought I could take this opportunity for changing your core beliefs. A small thinking pattern change will definitely give you an effective amount of result. So for the next few seconds, concentrate closely. See, I totally understand the fear that you have and the problem that you are labeling it up with public speaking or speaking in front of the others. But the first and most important factor that you need to understand about public speaking is that it is not a responsibility. It is a commitment. There is always a difference between a responsibility and commitment. So you are depending on your own ability. That's why we call it as dependability. And you are responding with your own ability. That's why we call it as responsibility. But people take it as, responsibility. The public speaking as a big responsibility. I take that as a pleasure. I'm really happy that they are taking it as a responsibility. In fact, that's the way to take it up. That's a prerequisite of a public speaking environment. I understand that. But besides that, if it is taken as a commitment that it is in your hands, it is in your hands to make the people understand what you are supposed to speak about. It is in your hand to make the people get the awareness about what you are supposed to speak about. Then it turns as a commitment, and you are just considering yourself as a person who is in the delivery stance and you're trying to speak to the people. There, responsibility, when it is misled, it will be taken as a burden. So there, you avoid the probable chance of converting your responsibility into a burden. So rather, it becomes a personal commitment. When we are personally committed towards something, we naturally start doing it. Okay, so I want that to be a personal commitment. You need to change the thinking pattern about speaking in front of the others. You should understand that the public speakers in the world are known for their excellence in public speaking, not because of their talent, not because of their speaking or persuasion skills. They are popular not even because of their presence of mind. They are popular only for one reason, my dear friends. They are popular because of the desire they have for telling the information to the others. They are very, very popular that they take it as a personal commitment. They take the desire as a personal commitment. They take delivery of the information as a personal commitment. So that is what is the difference between an ordinary person who fears for public speaking and a person who is renowned for the public speaking. See, most people concentrate on small, trivial things of speaking at the expense of the big and important things. In classes and in training sessions, when I ask a person to get up to speak, or when I ask a person to go to the stage to deliver the speech in front of his or her own peer group of audience, the person has got plenty of admonitions and self-limitations. The person really thinks that he or she is not good enough to make the speaking. The person has given himself or herself a terrific list of things not to do. The person gets confused in his or her talk and finds himself or herself silently asking, have I made a mistake? Now, note this. This particular question, have I made a mistake, is what is frequently disturbing a person when the person is standing on the stage for making a public speaking. The person goes to the stage, the person greets the people, looks into the eyes of the people, and ever since he or she has started speaking, till the time they finish the speaking, they keep on asking this question, have I made a mistake? Thousands of times. And just imagine if the person keeps on asking this question, the person will be in a turmoil. The person will not be able to focus on the best regards of the speech at all. So you might have got some experience and you are listening to this now. Go back to the previous occasion when you made a public speaking and just ask yourself how many times you have asked this question, have I made a mistake, to your own self when you are making the presentation. You might have introduced your chief guest, you might have given an annual report, you might have given a piece of advice to your students or your peers or your employees or the team of bosses. You might have asked this question, have I made a mistake, have I made a mistake, have I made a mistake. So it's a brief of your own weakness, my dear friends, and it is actually a flop. Yes, it's a flop because you concentrate on the petty, tiny, trivial, relatively unimportant qualities of a good speaker, and you have failed to concentrate on the big things that make a good speaker. Right? So understand this. Knowledge of what you are going to talk about and an intense desire to tell it to the other people. It's worth repeating. Even if you get bored, I don't mind, but it's worth repeating, it's my duty. Knowledge of what you are going to speak or what you are going to talk about and an intense desire to tell it to the other people. These are the two factors that should be the driving force for making speech in front of the public. You should have the knowledge, commendable knowledge about the topic that you are going to speak. And you should have an intense desire of explaining about those things to your public. Just imagine how you will have fear when these two factors are the driving forces. How you will have shivering on the stage when these two factors are the driving forces. How do you think you will stumble between the speech when these two factors are the driving forces? So when these two factors are the driving forces, you are a committed speaker over there. I mean, you're not a fearful, slouchy, and a dizzy kind of a speaker. You are a committed speaker. And you are standing like Martin Luther King Jr. in front of all those people when you have the knowledge of what you're going to speak and when you have the desire to tell it to others. I mean, I got a wonderful message I have prepared. So it is my wonderful opportunity to make everybody understand what I'm trying to speak. So right now you have something to say and you also feel that you have a burning desire for other people to listen to it and to hear it. So why don't you think on these lines, my dear friends? How long are you going to think of your own personal self-limitations in front of the audience? How long you are going to be self-conscious and you always think that the focus light is on you and highlighting only the negative qualities of yours? However you are, whoever you are, I think if you change your mindset and thinking pattern towards these two things, I think you will become a wonderful speaker. And public speaking is a leadership quality. You get yourself a leadership stance. You get the leader out of you. And you really emphasize yourself as a wonderful person to be followed. Remember these two words, or these two statements rather. Knowledge of what you are going to talk about and a desire to talk and let the other people know. If you can, you are supposed to develop these two as your psychological factors before you take up a chance of speaking in front of the people. Otherwise, you will be always stuck up into a nutshell of not being able to give your best. You will focus on what you don't want to focus. You will focus only on the things that you are fearing most. This is the most important barrier to be broken. And I've given you a solution. This is not something that you need to go into a clinic and you need to take the prescription and develop. This is a slight change in your thinking pattern that makes you understand that this is a simple stuff. So now, after changing the core belief, after considering this as a knowledge-based environment, and after developing a desire, a deep-down desire to deliver your piece of message, and now I want you to focus upon how you are supposed to prepare for a public speaking environment. I told you, people are speaking about preparation, visualizing, deep breathing. All those techniques are very conventional and all those are available in the market right from the very beginning. But I want you to get tuned with the technique called as jotting down the points or tags, creating tags. Tags are just miniature points or miniature words that you are supposed to write about the concept that you are intended to speak. Take a piece of paper and write down all the points that you would like to speak on, even if it is going to be an announcement, even if it is going to be a tiny piece of message that you are supposed to give them, or even if it is going to be an ordinary kind of a message that you are intending to give them, or a piece of advice, or whatever may be the instruction it is. So I want you to take a piece of paper, write down, and for everything you need to mix up with stories, examples, data, illustrations, as I am showing in the clip right now. So when you are inculcating stories, examples, data, you are making a substantial speaker of your own self. And then I want you to visualize as if you are delivering the piece of message and people are really liking your presentation. And I want you to take few deep breaths before you go to the stage. Just take 10 to 15 deep breathing. Close your eyes. Focus on your subject material. Take 10 to 15 deep breaths and then go to the stage. And you will feel much, much better. Because by virtue of this deep breathing, you are telling yourself that you are so strong, and by virtue of your respiratory organs exercise, you are expanding your origins of better speaking ability. Right. There are some factors I would like to highlight here, my dear friends, which will really give you some sort of spirit and confidence for taking this stage speaking and the speaking in front of others, the so-called environment of speaking in front of others on a much comfortable and easier way. Now, on that note, I would like to first of all introduce you to the 4 tall factors. I call this as 4 tall factors. You saw the frequently asked questions, right? So one of the most famous and frequently asked questions is that, why is it like I'm getting stuck when I go and stand in front of the audience? Why is it like, this public speaking occurrence itself remains a very painstaking steps for me? What is the reason for it? Or to be very familiar with some of the other questions, another one important question is that, why I'm not getting the words? I prepare well backstage, but when I go to the stage, I'm not getting the words. I'm not getting the words properly aligned. So these are the stopping factors of the people in some forms or not. So I would like to introduce these tall factors, the 4 tall factors. They are walk tall, stand tall, talk tall, and think tall. Yes. Walk, stand, talk, and think tall. What is it all about? I mean, they are self-explanatory words, but still I would like to ask you a question. What is it all about? I mean, what does your mind really give you as a response when you read these four set of words? Walk tall, stand tall, talk tall, and think tall. We'll start with think tall. Think tall simply represents that you need to think big. Tall is a word. The word itself is very much explanatory to you that you have to do something a little bit bigger or huge way. So think tall states clearly that you're supposed to think big. You need to think big about your subject material. You need to think about yourself. You need to think big about what you are going to do. You need to think big about the people who are going to listen to you. You need to think very, very big about the response that you are going to elicit after your speech. Just imagine if you're a student when you're supposed to make a seminar at 10 a.m. in the morning and 9:30 when you're preparing for your seminar. 9:30, between this 9:30 and 10 o'clock in this half an hour, you're supposed to make this as a practice. Think tall about your subject material. Think tall about your seminar. Think tall about the response, the positive response the people are going to give you at the due course of your speech. Think tall about the response that you are going to get ultimately after the end of the speech, and think tall about the positive responses and good number of appreciations you are going to get. So, if you ask me, is it about thinking positive? No, it's not about positive thinking. I don't believe in positive thinking. Positive thinking is a little bit away from our perspective here. I'm talking about realistic thinking. Everything happens twice, once in your mind and another once in the reality. So your mind is the one which is creating the reality. So I want you to think tall. I want you to think so much that your prospect of making the public speaking should be in such a way that everybody is getting interested in your speech. That's point number 1. Think tall. And number 2 is talk tall. Talk louder. Talk with enormous amount of vibrance. Talk with as much certainty as possible. I need to talk about this word called as certainty. Certainty means being so firm and being so immersed that what you're speaking is totally right. Being so firm and certain that what you're speaking is the gospel truth. Your body language and everything should be in such a way that what you're speaking is the biggest gospel truth ever the people have listened to. So that's called as talk tall. Alright? So using your voice, using your pitch, everything. So here in Talk Tall, I would like to introduce you to the most important 4 factors of voice musicality. Or to make the long story short, the 4 factors of your voice strength. We are talking about talking tall, right? So now you're listening to my voice. Do you really think I'm talking tall? I should be stating that I'm talking tall, but because of some reasons, some people who are listening to this voice tape might think that no, he's not talking tall as he's suggesting. Some people might think, oh, this is too loud. Why are you shouting like this? I'm listening to you over the headphone and it is so bizarre when you're shouting like this. Some people might think, this guy is too much superfluous in terms of activeness and he's shouting too hard. Some people might think, okay, fine, so this is appropriate when he's trying to teach something. He is supposed to be very, very vibrant, and that is why he is speaking so louder like this. So, I might be getting some mixed responses, but as far as I'm concerned, I'm feeling so better only when I speak louder like this in this voice tape. I'm trying to give lots and lots of certainty, okay? So, I'm using this voice. So, you can use 4 factors of your voice strength here for making sure that you are talking tall. Point number 1, pitch. Point number 2, power. Point number 3, pace. And point number 4, pass. Let's speak about pitch first. What is the kind of variance you give in your pitch of the voice? High pitch, low pitch? How much amount of emphasis you are giving when you are speaking something? That's pitch. Second one is power. Power is, giving stress or giving some sort of, affirmity or conformity in what you are speaking. So when you're saying something, you're saying it so hard. I think this is going to work out. I believe this is the truth. I certainly understand that this is most important factor. So likewise, see, when I use these 3 words, believe, understand, I think, I was trying to, put things on your head, right? So I'm using my power into my voice. Pace is the speed of your speaking, and pass is the number of stoppages and gap that you are having in between your speech. So these 4 factors are completely in your control: pitch, power, pace, pass. So when you are speaking and when you try to use this factor called as talk tall, you're supposed to influence full command on these 4 factors, my dear friends: pitch, power, pace, and pass. So there are other areas when we are focusing on our inability to speak. My point is, when you are starting to concentrate on these areas, your fear is forgotten here. You get my point? When you are concentrating on these areas, your fear is forgotten and you totally come away from the factor that you are poor in public speaking. You're getting engaged and you're getting so involved in such a way that your inability is forgotten and your act of selling yourself short in a public speaking environment itself is forgotten here. So, make a point to first of all understand this. This is my first step to you. I want you to take this 4 factors, tall factors, and we have just discussed 2 things. One is thinking tall and another one is talking tall. And in talking tall, I want you to remember the 4 P's of voice strength, the 4 factors of voice strength: pitch, power, pace, and pass. Now let's move on to stand tall and walk tall. Walk tall is walking fast, and stand tall is standing with your spinal cord straight when you go to the stage. Well, these 2 are more physiological in nature. So physiology breeds psychology, as we all know. Emotion is created by movement. Okay, any kind of emotion is created only by your movement. So when you're standing tall with your spinal cord straight and when you're making your movements on the stage, and when you're walking here and there and your walking tall appearance will really give a proper positive vibration to your listeners. So the final 2, stand tall and walk tall, are more physiological in nature. So everything is in your control. So what do you think about this? I explained about this for the past 8 minutes, and now you need to tell me what you really feel about this. Just imagine, forget all your weaknesses. Forget that you are poor in English. Forget that you don't have prior experience in making stage speaking. Forget that you don't have any sort of practice before this. But just imagine you go to the stage with your prepared material and you stand in front of the people. And while you are standing in front of the people, you are thinking tall. While you are starting to speak in front of the people, you are talking tall. And while you are making your personal appearances on the stage, you are standing tall and walking tall. Just imagine if you are using these 4 techniques, aren't you creating a very good impression in the minds of the people? You bet. You definitely are doing a very good job over there. So, all these things will take, it's at a due course of time, all these things will develop. So, I want you to think about this. And as a summary of this particular section, walk tall, stand tall, talk tall, and think tall. And 4 factors of voice strength: pitch, power, pace, and bass. So, I want you to use this and test your effectiveness on this by taking an environment. If there is a seminar coming by, grab the opportunity. If your professor or if your boss in the office environment, they are asking you to make a report in front of the audience, do that. Take that opportunity. Do that. Even if it is going to be such a big mess, try to do that. We need an experimental environment for testing this, right? So try to search for an experimental environment and try to test your skills on this.